So again, thank you everyone for being here and for making time to come to this event. I'm curious to hear as we're going through this a little bit later, like what drew you to attending this marketing and finance event. And so with that, I want to share just a little bit of housekeeping. What I will need y'all to do is make sure that you check in. The QR code is right over here to the right. You can scan that, or you can use the bit.ly link. That is how we know that y'all are here. And then afterwards, we have an evaluation form that there's the QR code, and again, the bit.ly link if you need be to use that. It is important that you fill out the evaluation form because it's needed for the credit. And then we have some great questions. So I hope that everybody will ask Krista questions. And if you're kind of struggling with how to come up with some on your own, this great question sheet has some ready for you that you can pick from. So with that, we have, we'd like to ask everyone to be fully present, pay attention, and to actively participate. The more people are engaged, the greater that this is. Please don't play games on your phone or check social media or watch videos. And really focus on the presenter if possible. If you can turn on your cameras, that makes it nice for all of us not to be speaking to black screens, but we do understand if you're not able to do that. And take some good notes. And then again, another reminder that afterwards you want to submit your evaluation. That's the only way that your attendance has been tracked. So we get you, that's the QR from the beginning, tells us that you logged in, but you have to do all the way through at the end that tells us that you participated the entire time. So there you go with that. And so from here, I say, let's begin this presentation. I first would like to share with you all a little bit about Krista. She is a marketing specialist for Intel, and she is an expert communicator, planner, and creative thinker. She earned a business degree at Emory University's Goizueta. Did I say that right? Okay, at Goizueta's Business School, focusing on marketing and strategy. Emory University recognized her success and work ethic by naming her one of the top 100 students in her graduating class. Woohoo, Krista. Krista has a passion for brand marketing and currently helps lead Intel's social media strategy. Previously, Krista spent 4+ years working in finance at Intel, managing over $5 billion, is that right? $5 billion in annual operating spending globally. So now you know why we have her presenting on marketing and finance. She knows a thing or two. When Krista's not working, you can find her blogging, volunteering, and finding ways to leave a positive impact in her world. I love that in the final statement of her email signature says, whatever you do, do it with all your heart. So with that, I turn it over to you, Krista.
Thank you. That was the best intro, so I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be able to chat with you all today. Let me present my screen, and then just let me know when you can see it and we can get started. Does it look good? Okay, I see a thumbs up. That's fantastic. Okay, so like Karen mentioned, I've had the opportunity to work both in finance and marketing, and I've made a big career switch. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about my journey, but also be able to dig into, let me go to the next slide, dig into some transferable skills that I think will be helpful for you all, and then also about finance and marketing and what a day in the life looks like for that. And then I'll leave you all with some resources to help equip you if you're interested in any of these areas. And then I'll open it up for Q and R. I like to call it Q and R because I don't promise to have the answers, but I will respond. So that's how we're gonna get started today. And the first part is about me. And Karen, I mean, you kind of stole the show here, but I'll just give a little bit more background because I think it's great to know who you're talking to and give you some context. So my name is Krista. I go by the pronouns she, her. I was actually born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. So I am a Buckeye fan by birth. And if you don't know what that means, that's okay. Don't worry about it. But like, we're amazing. Both of my parents are from Ghana, West Africa, and that is something that I am proud of. They immigrated here from school and started their family here, aka me. And my sister. Thanks to working hard in school in a program called Questbridge Scholars, I was able to attend Emory University, like Karen mentioned. I absolutely loved it. So I'm really excited for y'all's college experience. I met some of the best people there, learned a lot through getting involved on campus by being a resident advisor and being a part of the school council and so much more that really shaped me to who I am today. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but I do work at Intel Corporation. How many of you guys are familiar with Intel? I'm seeing some head nods. That's good. You're in Oregon. I was hoping that'd be the case. Just in case you don't have some context of what it is that we do, you might just know the name but not understand what we do. So in short, Intel makes semiconductors, also known as chips, that help power your laptops, mobile devices, hospital devices, even like things in outer space, in the metaverse and gaming. Pretty much anything that there's technology is probably powered by a chip that's probably created by Intel. So it's a pretty wonderful thing. Now, still sharing a little bit more about myself, I'm a big champion of diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just because it's a buzzword, but because it really does impact me personally. And I wanna make sure that everyone feels like they have a place where they can belong. So I spend a good chunk of my free time volunteering in those spaces. So that's a little bit about me. I want this to be a really engaging session to the best of our abilities. So I would love to learn a little bit more about you guys. I see all of your names here. So if you want to put in the chat, like what year you are, and maybe just something that you do for fun. I think it would help shape the context of the conversation. You'll see later. Actually, can't even see the chat. Hold on. Also, feel free to unmute yourself and just tell me as well. It's hard for me to see the chat when I'm presenting. Don't be shy. Karen, you're on mute, so I can't hear you. Oh, Jack.
I'm a senior and I really like listening to music.
Great. Love that. Is it like rock music, hip hop?
Pretty much everything.
Okay, great. Anyone else?
We have Ivan. Ivan said he is a junior and he runs as a hobby.
Amazing. Great to meet you, Ivan. I wish I could run. I can, but I don't. Anthony's a junior. Amazing.
What do you like to do for fun, Antoni?
Exercise. There's a theme here. That's great. Okay. Well, great to meet you all. I really appreciate the engagement. And we'll just keep pushing along. So I'm going to share a little bit more into detail about my career journey, because it might, just to give context of kind of the finance to marketing, but hopefully it's helpful for you as well. So it all started in 1994 when a legend was born, and definitely not John Legend or his kids, even though Miles and Lena are adorable, but it was me. So that's where it all started. Growing up, I wanted to be on the red carpet. I thought I could be an actor or a singer until I realized I couldn't really do either well. So instead, I started to look for where I wanted to be on screen instead. And one example of a boss woman that I loved and still do is Gabrielle Union. You might know, yes, she's amazing. You might know her as Dwayne, as Dwayne Wade's wife or Zaya's stepmom, but I know her as my favorite character from the Bring It On franchise, and also from a movie that honestly should be more iconic called Deliver Us from Eva. And in this movie, she's a no-nonsense businesswoman who fights for her family and maybe comes off as a little bit overbearing, but she's a boss who gets things done at the end of the day. So I'm going to show you a little clip to kind of show you what I mean.
Uncompromising.
It's called principle, Oscar. Maybe the world is in short supply, but I am not. You see, people pay their tax dollars for my principle, so they can go into a restaurant and not eat chicken fried rat or bite into a bacon, lettuce, and ptomaine sandwich. If I slack up on you, then I have to cut everyone a break, and pretty soon the almonds on your salad have legs. If that makes me uncompromising, well, I wear it as a badge of honor because I'm in damn good company. Martin Luther King was uncompromising, Nelson Mandela was uncompromising, and I'm sure your mother was uncompromising, although the evidence of that is not apparent today. So, why don't you think of me as your mom right now? And Mama says, clean it up! See you in 48 hours.
Okay, honestly, one of my favorite scenes. It's so funny. I never wanted to be as intense as her as she is, but the uncompromising confidence and command of the room was really inspirational for me. Characters like her let me know what I wanted to do. And I was like, I want to be a businesswoman. So that's what I went to school for, business. I went to Gozoto Business School, like Karen mentioned. But honestly, it wasn't a super easy journey. I crawled through, I knew I was capable, but I didn't feel like I fit in. Business school has a culture of its own, and imposter syndrome can be real. But the time that I really felt like I found my stride in business school was in my marketing courses. Specifically, I had a professor called Reshma Shah, and she had a class called Integrated Marketing. And in that class, we got to build out an integrated marketing plan for one of Coca-Cola's clients called Mellow Mushroom. It was really, really cool. So we got to talk to franchise owners, developed surveys, collected data, came up with marketing assets and slogans. And then to top it off, we got to present it all at the Coca-Cola HQ in Atlanta. And let's not forget, we got free Mellow Mushroom pizza as we were doing all of this work. So honestly, it was living the dream, and I felt like I had found my calling. So marketing was my end goal. I was good at it, I enjoyed it, and it came the most naturally to me out of everything that I tried in business school. So once I graduated in 2016, I took my last summer off ever, which take advantage of that, my friends, and began crafting my 5-year plan to start my journey to become, like, I wanted to get to the highest level, which is Chief Marketing Officer, right? And so, but there was a little bit of a twist. My path didn't start with me being in marketing. It actually started with me being a finance analyst. So how did we get there? Well, after a little bit of job searching, a connection of mine presented me with an opportunity with a finance job in Portland at Intel. I almost didn't apply because it didn't seem to align with my plan, right? I had that 5-year plan, and I just didn't want to settle for anything. But when I learned about this thing called a transferable skill set, which I'll talk to you a little bit more about later, it really helped me make my decision because I learned that there were skills from marketing that I could apply to finance. It would even actually help me stand out in a finance role. And the more I research, I realized, hey, if I want to be a marketing executive, they're going to have to own their own budget. They're going to have to make financial decisions. And so I really wanted to be able to understand that to help me dive as I go deeper into my marketing career. So I started in finance, had my plan that I'm only going to do it for like 4 years. In the 5th year of my plan, I'm going to switch to marketing. So it was all working great. And then in 2019, I like to call my reckoning, right? It's that ain't for me moment where I realized, hey, like I'm actually really, really in deep into this finance world, so much so that I took a job that no longer even aligned with the plan. It didn't have those transferable skills in it anymore. It was just a pure finance job that was actually kind of hard for me to excel in because it didn't have that like skill set that I was looking for. And so that was my wake up call to like, it's time to make the switch. And so I did. I went back to work, I networked, and I was able to eventually land the job that I have now as a social media strategist at Intel. Now, there's more to my story. Obviously, I'm not a chief marketing officer quite yet. The rest is still as written as Natasha Bankel says. And this one's for you, Jack. If you like music, if you don't know the Natasha song, here's the remix that happened. I loved it when that went viral. That was my childhood having a laugh. Okay, so let me talk a little bit more about these transferable skills. I'm going to just do a quick hit on this because we really want to get into the finance and marketing piece of it. But I think this is really important for you all to get a handle on as well. These are the 4 that really stood out to me as skills that helped me in finance and marketing, but also just outside of that as well. So the first thing is communication, both verbal and nonverbal. It's really important to learn how to be a strong communicator, speak powerfully and concisely, and be able to connect with people through your words and your actions. That goes across job function. The next thing is analysis, being able to tell a story with data. Now, data is in pretty much every job nowadays. It's in everything that we do. Social media, like no matter what you do, when you search things on Google, there's data involved. So a key skill set is being able to look at that and be able to tell a story with that data so that it's not just numbers, but it has something behind it. The third skill set is influence, which is honestly tied to communication, but it also has to do with your network, who you surround yourself with, right? So I would encourage you all to meet as many people as you can, even if it's a coach, a counselor, parent, programs like this, right? Chat with them, make connections with them, even go as far as to tell them your dreams and your plans, because you never know where that might take you. And then the last thing I'll say here is curiosity, ask questions always. It'll get you ahead in life, and just continue to stay curious in everything. So like I said, these skills go beyond marketing and finance, but I found them to be really helpful for me as I've been in both functions, but they can even be applied now. So for example, if you're a part of a school organization, extracurricular sport, which seems like a lot of people are into exercise and running, right? Like there is a way that your coach communicates to you, your teammates communicate to you, that stands out to you or encourages you in a way, right? Like that has impact. Or let's say that you wanted to talk to your guidance counselor about what school to go to. There's a method that I like to use in communications, and I'm going to just dig into that one really quickly and we'll move on. But there's a couple things that I really like to pay attention to when it comes to communication, and that's one, determining your approach, And two, finding out your objective or your end goal. So if you were going to talk to your guidance counselor about what school to go to and you wanted to have that meeting, then one, you would determine your approach, right? Do I just stop by her office one day, or do I send her an email first, right? What's my approach in having this conversation? And then for your objective, you know, you can think like a boss or think like her, right? How would she respond? Like, how would she respond to what I have to say? What are some things that I should research ahead of time to help the conversation go the way that I want it to go? And then can I take that all, put it in an agenda and send it to her ahead of time so now she feels prepared for our conversation, right? That's just one example of how communication and doing it well can be applied even today. So I'll jump off that high horse, but hopefully these four stick with you. All right. So I'm going to touch a little bit about what the day in the life of a finance analyst looked like for me and see if it might interest you as well. So there are about 5 components that really, really were essential to the finance analyst life, right? So one was what we call monthly close. So that's when we're literally like closing the books, if you think of an actual account book, right? We're ensuring that all of the information, everything that we spent for that month is accurate and was recorded accurately, and that it reflects into our financial statements that we report out to Wall Street and all these big places, right? We need to make sure that everything is accurate. And that's what we do on a monthly basis through our close process. And with that, we want to check that we're not only is our spending accurate and there's nothing that fishy that happened, but also that it's meeting the budget, right? We don't want to spend more than what we actually have. So monthly close was a time for us to really keep track of what we're spending to make sure that we're hitting our budget and that everything is accurate. Now, in terms of setting a budget, that happened quarterly through our quarterly forecasting process. So this is where we use the best known information to be able to set a target for the future. So let's say that we know that we're going to buy more tools or we're going to build a new building, right? Like all of that information we build into our budget to make sure that we are accounting for all the right things in the future, and we can set our forecast accurately. So that's close, but then we have what we call our affordability efforts. Or otherwise you can say looking for ways to save the coins, right? It's really important that, hey, we're spending all this money, we have this budget, how can we make sure that we meet all of our goals? That's where affordability comes in, right? So whether that's through different kinds of spending reductions, like, hey, it looks like we can't travel this month because that's not a priority and we have these other things that we need to spend. It can look a lot of different ways, but we try to find creative ways to keep things affordable for us. And then business partnership was another key part of finance. This is where that skill set of influence really comes in, because not only are you working with your fellow finance peers, but like I mentioned earlier, every job function, whether it's marketing, sales, IT, whatever it is, it has a finance component. They all have budgets, right? And so you get to influence those people on how they spend and what they spend it on. And in order to do that, you need to have strong partnerships with them. And so that's a really key component to the job, because those relationships really help get the job done. And then the last thing for finance is process improvement, which is really finding ways to make our systems faster and more efficient. There are really cool tools like Power BI that automate a lot of the work that we do right now, so that you can see a pretty dashboard instead of crunching numbers in Excel, right? You know, we talked about affordability earlier, but process improvement can actually lead to affordability, right? If you're saving time, you're actually saving money. So always looking for ways to improve processes is also an important part of the finance role. So those are the 5 key components that I found while I was in finance. I want to pause and see if there are any comments or questions there before I move to the next slide. Okay, if you have any, feel free to write them down and we can ask them at the end. Now, I would share a little bit about some more firm examples of what all this looks like, but I don't want to get in trouble and show any sensitive information in the spreadsheet. So I'm going to move on to marketing, but again, here to answer any questions about finance at the end. So marketing, the place that I am right now. So marketers are responsible for promoting a company and the products and services it sells. And there are different kinds of marketing. So there's digital marketing, which refers to marketing through digital channels like search engines, like your Google, email, mobile apps, right? That's where the digital marketing space is. There's also content marketing, which refers to marketing via long form content. So that's more of your websites, your blogs, your podcast, even social media falls within that space. There's also product marketing, which is all about setting the tone for how, where, when, and why a company promotes its products and services. I won't go through all of these, but the last one here is marketing strategy. And that involves creating long-term plans that connect business goals to customer needs, right? So a marketing strategist really creates the playbook for how you can find the right prospects and make them loyal customers for your brand and products, right? The end goal there is really customer loyalty. So just like we did for finance, I'll tell you a little bit more about the social media strategist day in the life. I'm in that content marketing space / marketing strategy. So the first thing is paying attention. So our number one job is to stay alert on all the trends and features that are happening, right? So, whether it's, hey, Rihanna's at the Super Bowl and she made a really cool post holding a football, right? That's a trend. How can we jump on that as a company and, stay on top of this moment? Or our features, like the collab feature on Instagram and Twitter, right? What a great opportunity to be able to join with your partners and share some content together, right? That was not something that existed a year ago or so. So you have to stay on top of all these new things because social media is constantly changing. And in order to do that, you have to pay attention and listen to what's happening on the environment. The next thing is strategize. So with all the listening that you do, determine the best approach for both the everyday and the big moments. So like I said, we can do the Rihanna thing, and instead of holding the football, she's holding one of our laptops. Innovative, I know, right? But finding ways to make that happen. You see that every day with different social media handles like Wendy's. They really know what they're doing. They have a tone of voice, or Duolingo, right? They make it really funny on social media. They have a strategy and a tone of voice that suits both the everyday and the big moments. The third one here is research and analysis. So we leverage our research, the social listening, the data analysis to distill meaningful and actionable insights. So, let's say we do an ASMR reel, right? And we're like, we did it, we tested it, we listened and saw people responded, and we're like, this is amazing for us. We're going to keep doing this because it's a win, right? Or we jumped on a trend and we're like, this one just didn't work. What can we take from this to not do again or tweak to make it better? But it's not just about what you post, it's also about who your audience is, right? So we do research to figure out who's our audience. Are they more Gen Z? Are they more men? Are they more women? Are they more tech enthusiasts? Or are they like the everyday consumer, right? That we have to do all this research to figure out who is even paying attention to what we're posting so we can cater it to the right people. That's
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Mhm.
You said pay attention to the AMSR reel. What does AMSR stand for those who might not know?
Yeah, so that was an example of like a strategy that we could do, like a certain kind of post. So ASMR, gosh, I don't even know what ASMR means, but it's pretty much, no, but I can explain it. It's pretty much where people make soothing sounds. So like if they're moving things on their desk and it's just the audio, right? It's like, that's what ASMR is. And so it's a really popular trend right now. And so if we see that that's a trend that works for us, if we do it as well, then that's something we should keep doing, is what I was trying to explain there. So thanks for asking.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so lots of research and analysis actually involved in social media, which might be surprising because I think a lot of people are like, you just put a post out there. You know, you write something cute and you press go, but it's not that simple, right? If you want to do it really well, especially for a corporation, there's a lot of research and listening and strategy that goes into it. The fourth thing here is adding perspective. So building out a point of view for the company that aligns with the brand, that really ties with the Duolingo and the Wendy's that I was talking about earlier. They really have a strong point of view and tone that aligns with their brand. Yeah, you don't want to just be putting stuff out there. You want it to be unique to you. And the last thing is get creative. I know this is all like research, analysis, strategize, but also it's fun, right? Have fun with it. Find new and exciting ways to engage with social media. There's a lot of opportunity in that space. So unlike finance, I do have some examples I can share with you because they are public knowledge. So firstly, I wanted to share through, like, this is an example of a plan, and it might be a little blurry, but I can talk through it. A plan of for an event that we were hosting, right? So we had an event, we wanted to do social media for it. The event wasn't until October, but we had to start planning and posting in August, right? We wanted to let people know that it was happening. We wanted people to be able to register. We wanted to give people little teasers of what we were going to be talking about so they would get excited about it. And then we also have all these partnerships and content plans that need to be created ahead of the event so that we can post on the day. And that takes time. We work with agencies to help make that happen. And so this is just an example of what that looks like, right? We're like, okay, the event is in October. How are we going to do that? Well, let's live stream the event, right? And let's be specific about what social platforms you want to do it on. Let's do it on Twitter and LinkedIn. That's where our tech audience is. Oh, how about we leverage some influencers as well? Who will those people be? How can we pull them in and get them involved, right? Those are the kinds of things that we consider when we're building a social media plan for an event or any big moment. So this is just an example of what that can look like. Now I want to show you a couple real life examples from our Instagram. So the first one is...
I was just going to say, I love Noodles the Pooch.
Okay, I'm so glad we love Noodles as well. Noodles is so fun and adorable. And I'm not even like, I mean, I'll probably get, I'm not like a huge, like, I don't have any pets, but like she spoke to me. So the cool thing about Noodles is, you know, again, part of our social media strategy, we wanted to reach a new audience, maybe even a younger audience, even though, I mean, Karen, you are young, so yes. Like we wanted to get people really like involved and understand what specifically our Intel Evo product, which is a processor within certain laptops is considered premium, and it helps you get faster Wi-Fi and longer battery life and all these things that we as PC users really care about. And so sometimes it can get pretty mundane just saying that ourselves all the time. So we're like, how can we leverage an influencer to help us tell the story a little bit better? And so then came Noodles. So we did a lot of posts with Noodles. I think we actually ended up doing 6. We got a lot of engagement. I mean, I think, yeah, like almost 2 million impressions just from working with her, which is amazing. But let me just show you an example of what it looks like.
I love all of her different glasses.
Oh yeah. So cute. So pretty much, if you didn't follow along, you know, she's a really sassy pup and she's on a Zoom call and she's like, yeah, can't relate to what you're going through because I have an Intel Evo laptop, right? Pretty much in short. And it's super fun. But it also helped us tell our story in a way that was new and fresh for us. I want to show you one more example. This will be our last one. So this is from our brand campaign that we just launched this year. And for this one, our goal was to really show the world how Intel is a part of like our everyday life, even if you don't know it. And also it helped give our sound. So we have this, we have this audio signature that goes dun 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 dun. You might have heard it before. But we haven't like been as loud about it. And we're like, hey, how can we tie that in to our messaging here? So this is an example of how we did that through our social media strategy.
Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
The technology inside, the technology that moves the world. Intel.
Amazing. So if you didn't catch that one, every time you heard the dun 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 dun, it was highlighting a different technology, whether it was the ultrasound, whether it was aespa with which was the K-pop band at the end that we used in the metaverse, whether it's, you know, the kids using the laptops in school, the vending machine, the car, the gaming, right? There's a lot of different places. We have a different version of this too that included Elise Myers and Ninjala for gaming. So we really leverage influencers for this. And this is where social media goes beyond just social media, because then this became a TV commercial as well during different NFL spots and stuff like that. So it's really cool, interesting work. And it all started with the strategy, like what you saw earlier, just a little something of how can we make this happen? And it came to life in these different ways. So hopefully, well, those are fun for me. Hopefully they're fun for you. I just wanted to kind of close by summarizing back to kind of where we started, right? So there are obviously really great opportunities, marketing, finance, and whatever you do choose to explore. But at the end of the day, I really want you to be able to walk away with some of these key things from even sharing a little bit about my career journey is When? Make a plan. A 5-year plan, short-term plan. It really doesn't have to be something elaborate. Just make a plan. But then the second thing I want to say, which might contradict, is be open to change, right? I think making a plan is helpful for you to have direction and to move towards something, but you have to go into it open-handedly, like I did, of just saying like, hey, if it doesn't exactly start with me being in marketing, that's okay. Or it's okay for me to make changes along the way and tweak something. So be open to change as you're starting, looking into colleges and that journey for yourself. Be really open. I would also encourage you to find a mentor, like the one that introduced me to the Intel job to start with. Like I said, it could be a counselor, a parent, a friend, but get someone close and be able to share and bounce ideas back and forth with. And then just keep your eyes open, look around you. This kind of ties to being open. There are a lot of possibilities out there for you. So here are some resources. I will send this deck out to Karen and team here, and they can send it to you at the end. One is my contact information. If you want to reach out to me and you have any, anything you want to share, any questions, I'm here to help. It's my LinkedIn profile. If you don't have a profile, you should build one. It's good to have. My email. And then all of these things below are some trainings that I found that I think could be really helpful if you are interested in the marketing or finance space. One is building your LinkedIn profile, but the other ones are Excel and Power BI, which is that tool I told you that helps to automate things, and how to do data storytelling, and for marketing, just some general marketing tips and social media strategy tips. So hopefully you'll be able to tap into some of these resources and learn a little bit more even beyond what I can share with you today. So with that, thank you so much. And I will open it up for any questions or comments.
Does anybody here have any questions for Krista? Well, I have a couple for you. So how does as a marketing strategist with, products like what Intel, their chips are in such a wide range of audiences, how do you have a team? What's Intel's approach to building a team that can speak to like younger audience and older audience and the different, like the BIPOC community and that how do you poise yourself to be of value to a company like Intel, who is really has a good understanding of different lenses?
Yeah, so I think that all kind of ties down to like our brand marketing strategy. So within that, we have what our objectives are, who our audience are, what's our tone of voice, how do we want to show up in the world, what are the things we care about. And within that brand marketing strategy, that then informs all the other different marketing segments. So like you said, there's a broad range. So the brand covers all of Intel. And then we pass that down to everyone else so that we can all sound the same, all have the same objectives, even if, the specifics of what we do are a little bit different. Does that help to answer your question a little bit, or was there a second?
Yeah.
Part?
No, I think just that, as being on the older side, like for me, I find it important to stay relevant with what's going on throughout the different generations on each side of me, because that adds the value into my worth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we try to meet people where they are too by having a pretty robust and diverse strategy, right? So social media isn't all we do, right? We have the TV spots, we have like print ads, we have like the digital displays, right? So like we try to reach a broad range of audience and not be super targeted in just one space. But if we have a gap in an area, we will work to address it for sure.
Looks like we have a question on the chat. Anthony asks, what's the salary range?
We care about money. No, that's a really good question, Anthony. So it really depends on the job that you're looking for, but it is a pretty competitive salary range. I mean, we are in the tech space, so typically on average, a lot of the jobs are like in that like maybe 6-figure space, if that's helpful. But again, it depends job to job and kind of where you start. What do I like most about my job? I like that question as well. I really love the people, first of all. I think I really just have a really fantastic team that just cares. I think, you know, sometimes people can just be like, oh, it's just about the business, but they really, really care about the people, and that makes a difference for me. It makes a difference in how I can show up to work. And so like, yeah, it's been just a really good experience to be at a company and on a team that really cares about you as a full person. So I think that's my favorite part. But in terms of the actual role that itself, I like the fact that I get to see things come to life. So I get to be a part of it from conception to all the way to execution. So I'm like, oh, okay, there's this idea, and I get to work with the creative team to help, you know, iron it out and see how we can make it actually come to life. And then to see something like the noodles or the brand campaign that I showed and be like, oh, here's the final result, and this is how it's impacting people, is really special. So I really appreciate that part of the role, because it's not just something that's insular, but it has a direct impact. What kind of education is required? Also a good question. So I think typically for most jobs, you need to have a bachelor's degree of sorts, again, depending on what job it is. And then, you know, as you go up, the requirements might look different. But I know people who make it really far with getting their bachelor's education, and then having the master's is a bonus, having the PhD is an added bonus, and with each degree, there's more money. So I'll say that. Yeah, just a bachelor's is great. And specifically for finance, I would say specializing in finance or accounting is really helpful, or at least being able to go to business school. And for marketing, again, having that business school like background, but being able to focus in marketing or communications or advertising are really helpful specialties there. These are great questions.
What were some of the classes that you had to take in school that you weren't excited about, but ended up kind of finding like, oh, wow, I really liked them more than I thought, or have used it more than I thought I would have?
I mean, I think that so like in business school, we have to take classes within each business discipline. So like whether it's operations or marketing or finance. And so it's, you know, if you're only interested in one thing, you kind of push through the others sometimes. But I think taking classes, I think it was in the operations space, was actually really helpful, because it helped me learn more about Excel. It helped me learn about different how to think about different like roadblocks that you can have in process improvement and stuff like that. So I think that is an example of a class that helped me regardless. But I think even if it's not the specifics of what I learned, it's also about like the way that it allowed me to think, if that makes sense. Like the critical thinking skills that each class requires of you is really what I've been able to take and apply into like my day-to-day job. I see Anthony says any training needed. So outside of the education, that's really the core thing. But once you get in a job, there's a lot of training provided. So they really are invested in making sure that you are set up for success. And they, they want to have the best employees that they can have as well. And so there's a lot of training when you're starting a job to help you get equipped to do your job successfully. And then you get to do more and more on an annual basis. There's like an annual training that you do to keep your skill sets refreshed. So I wouldn't say so much in the front end before you come in, but definitely as you're in there, there's a lot of learning opportunity. Good
I
question.
have a question. Could you go
Yeah.
into a little bit more detail about like business disciplines? Because usually they kind of lump it all into one category, and I still don't know a lot about that.
Yeah, that's a good question, Kehlani. So you mean like the different kinds of business disciplines that you can explore, like the marketing and the finance, is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity within business. I'll try to list off as many as I can, but there's the marketing, there's finance, there's operations, there's entrepreneurship, there's real estate, there's consulting. I'll stop there because those are the main ones that are coming to my mind, but there's at least 6, definitely more. And each one's a little bit different. So for consulting, for example, you'll usually see people try to go into like the top consulting companies like Deloitte, BCG, Bain, right? There's a few really big consulting companies, and what they do is they actually they serve as consultants for big corporations. So a corporation has a problem that they need help solving, and so they'll reach out to this consulting company to help them solve the problem, or at least come up with different solutions that maybe they don't have the capacity to do themselves. So consulting is a really big industry for that reason, and you get to travel a lot in that kind of job because you're traveling from corporation to corporation to help them solve their problems. So that's consulting. Entrepreneurship, you probably have a little bit of an idea of what that is. It can look a lot of different ways, but it's pretty much starting a new job or a new company on your own. And then real estate is real estate, like being able to sell real estate. There's there's also like a venture capital component to the entrepreneurship piece of being able to build a startup cost to be able to start something new. I talked about marketing and finance already. Hopefully that's helpful. Does that help answer your question, Kehlani?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. I'm loving these questions. Anything else top of mind?
I am curious as to what kind of doors this opened for you or additional opportunities that maybe you didn't see coming or didn't know would be a part of the job, but has allowed you to venture into just more.
Yeah, I would say even just being able to work at Intel has opened doors for me. I think it's a recognizable name, which is great. And so, I was able to sit on the board of directors for a nonprofit. Like, how cool is that? I love giving back, right? And so, but I think my experience helped qualify me for that, or being able to speak at things like this or at other conferences, right? But I also think just being able to work for this company because of its size and the different things that you can do within it, it helped me to make the job transition that I really wanted to make. And I think that was big for me, of being able to like network within and build enough of a relationship to kind of help open these doors. Like, I know I was saying the thing of like, tell people your dreams, but I'm honestly saying that because I did it, even though it was scary. I was in finance and I was like, okay, if I tell people that I want to do marketing, does that mean I'm going to lose my finance job? You know what I mean? I was like, this seems really scary. But then I did. And lo and behold, someone that I told was like, hey, there's an opening in marketing on my team. And I would love for you to join because I know that you're interested, not because you have the, experience. And so I was like, amazing. And so I was able to make this huge job transition that might be a little bit harder to make, along with the transferable skill sets and the help from the mentor. I was able to make the transition. And I think that's been a true gift from like being able to work at the company and do the jobs that I've done, because it continues to open doors for me in that way.
How did you go about acquiring mentors? Were they people who came up to you and offered, or did you have to seek that out? And
yeah, definitely the latter. I had to seek that out. I mean, I think there are a lot of people who are willing to be mentors, but I had to be willing to ask. And so I honestly just asked around, right? And how I started was I went to my manager and I was just like, hey, based on what you know about me, is there anyone you would recommend me meeting? And they gave me a couple names and I was like, great. I met with those people and I asked them the same question and they gave me more names. And so then it started to be able to build. And then I was like, okay, these are the people that I'll have in my circle as my mentors. So that's kind of the importance of networking that I was talking about earlier, is just meeting with people, being really clear about what it is that you want and how you communicate, and then just being really consistent and seeing where it takes you.
With Intel being in the news recently for some of the layoffs that are coming, and when we look at a lot of jobs that are really impacted by the economy, how does you working in marketing and brand strategy, what trends like for you? Are you impacted? Your department impacted by layoffs?
Big question. So, there's only so much I can say, especially because this is a recorded call, but there's definitely some impacts that we'll see, right? The business is trying to make the best decisions for itself financially. And so that does unfortunately mean that some people will have to be let go, and it's really tough actually. I'm not gonna lie, but they're really trying to make everyone make sure that people are still taken care of. So and that's something that's happening across tech right now. And it's just it's not due to the business per se, it's due to just the macroeconomic environment with all that's happening in the news with that. And so hopefully by the time you all are looking for jobs, we'll be in a different state, and we will be. So it just kind of ebbs and flows. It goes up and down the financial market. And this is just a time where it's a little bit down. You have to make some tough decisions.
And that's probably where it's important to really diversify your skill set, right? Because then you're able to pivot more.
Exactly. Fingers crossed, but if I was impacted by any of this, I could go back to finance if I wanted to, which I don't want to, but I could. Or I could, I could start my own freelance thing with social media. We get a lot of opportunities with the job that we have and the skill sets that we're able to build. So definitely helpful in that regard. I see some questions in the chat. Ivan, how many people do you usually work with? Yeah, so teams vary. I would say on average, your team is like from 6 to 10 people. But then again, that business partnership part that I talked about earlier, you have a lot of different partners that you work with as well. And that's a little bit harder to count, right? Like I can engage with like, 30 different people in a week that aren't on my team, right? So, so hopefully that helps to answer the question, but the core team is usually a little bit smaller, and then there's all these other people that you have to work with to get the job done. And that just varies every week because the work is so dynamic and fun and so many different things are happening that you get to meet and work with a lot of different people. Who's the most famous person you've worked with? Noodles the Butcher. No, I think so for Instagram. I didn't get to work with him directly because this happened right before I joined, but I think Jamie Foxx is probably the biggest. We have a whole campaign deal with him and his daughter, and we've been doing a lot of stuff with them on Instagram and TikTok. So check our Instagram out because they're there. And we've worked with other, big people in the past, but that's the biggest one. Not Terry Crews. Maybe one day, we'll see.
I love watching Jamie Foxx and his daughter on Shazam, Beat Shazam.
Yeah, they have such a fun dynamic and they carry that through. So,
yeah.
It's
always fun to see that family dynamic and the role that how they play off of each other. So
yeah, they keep that going. It's honestly really funny.
What's one of the least favorite parts of your job?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a blessing and a curse when you get to do a lot of things, right? So you stay really busy, you get to have really a lot of fun projects, but also sometimes you're like, I want a little bit of a break. So I think finding that balance is what I'm personally working on. And I think it's just really good to have that work life, maybe not balance per se, but just like a really healthy integration of the two. And so I think that this job really does afford us that. Like no one's expecting you to work over hours. They're giving us just a wellness day because tomorrow, so I get to start my weekend after this. So it is a really good work environment, but also I'm a little bit of an overachiever and I do a lot of things at the same time. And so for me, it's just trying to find that like healthy balance so I don't burn myself out.
Being a social media strategist and paying attention to that, how do you balance between work and your own personal social media? Like when you get home, are you like, no, I don't even want to look at TikTok or Instagram or Twitter?
I still scroll, but I used to be a lot more involved, like with, I have an Instagram blog and all this stuff. And I was trying to, make my grid pretty. I was that person. But I don't do that as much anymore because it's so much ingrained in my everyday work life now that I'm just like, I just use it for fun versus me trying to create my own things. But maybe that will change, but for now, that's where I'm at. What other questions?
Do you get to have some say, like who new people you are working with? Like the question was asked about Terry Crews. Is that done at the Intel, or is that kind of more like with the ad agency that you work with, or?
It's a little bit of both. So the agency will propose people to us, and sometimes we can propose people to them and they can look into it. So like for Noodles, for example, the agency proposed Noodles to us, right? She wasn't really on our radar. And so it was like, yes, absolutely, this is a good fit. So it goes either way. And she's really a fan of Terry Crews. This is fantastic. So that's your answer there. Ilana, and I saw that you went off mute, so I want to make sure you can ask you a question too.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, as a social media strategist, is content creation also part of your job, or is it just more of like building the plans?
That's a really great question, because they are different. So yeah, the strategist role is building the plans. And then I share those plans with our creative agencies who help to actually build and make my plans come to life. So I'm not like the creative person that's like making all these cute animations and post. I cannot, but I give them kind of the vision, they make it come to life, and then I get to be the person to give feedback and tweak it to make sure that it's actually turning out, the way that we want it to be. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. They're both really fun places to be, just depends on your strengths, and I know mine.
How many of the students watching this are interested in pursuing business as a career path? And if so, what discipline within business?
Originally, the pathway that I was on was business and marketing. So I had already taken the classes, most of the classes that I would need to graduate out of it by now. I had taken marketing 1 and marketing 2, and I was supposed to take either accounting or personal finance this year. I don't exactly remember. But I did realize that business and marketing were kind of two different things, even though they put them in like the same category most of the time. So my like discipline, the one that I really want to go to, is more of like maybe product design rather than product marketing. I really enjoy making like designs for products like boxes and stuff like that. So mine might be a little bit more graphic design than marketing like I thought, but I thought it would be incredibly useful to have both of them just in case.
Will be incredibly useful, that's for sure. And you're going through that process of figuring it out, which is really important. So yeah, two different things, but both integrated in different ways. So I'm glad that you're learning about both. Anyone else for Karen's question? Okay, Anthony said perhaps. He did ask one more question. Do you see yourself doing this in 30 years? I hope to not be doing the same exact thing. I hope to be able to grow within the marketing space. As much as I love social media, I want to be able to see other aspects of marketing and help me be a well-rounded marketing leader. I still have that goal of, even if it's not a CMO, at least being a marketing executive of sorts. And so I really want to get as much information as I can around that. So, and also we'll see the way that social media continues to evolve over the next 30 years. It wasn't even like this I don't think we had anything 30 years ago. So it's already changed so quickly. And so, I'm definitely aware that it will continue to change. So we'll see.
Will we get to see you on the red carpet?
You say on the red carpet?
Yeah, will we get to see your marketing on the red carpet somehow, some way?
Oh, you know what? That is a good goal. That is, yep, I'm adding that to my bucket list.
With Gabrielle Union.
Oh my goodness, you guys are speaking my language. Yeah, I would love for that to happen.
And then maybe we need to get Terry Crews in there also.
Just like all the ex-AGT hosts, Gabrielle, Terry.
Yeah. So what are you doing right now for your professional development?
Oh, what a good question. So I'm continuing to maintain my my mentor relationships that I have, and even shift them a little bit as I've like shifted my career, right? Like they change depending on the season, and so I'm really trying to work on that. But the big thing is building my next 5-year plan. I did the 5-year plan to make the shift to marketing. It's like big check on that. But now what do the next 5 years look like? That's where I'm a little bit unsure. And so I really want to start building that out so I can have something to track towards. It's going to be a big one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like Shonda Rhimes has the year where she said yes to everything.
Yeah.
And that, like, when that door opens, instead of like, well, why do I want to go through that, is like, I'm going to go through that, and saying yes because it's gotten her places that she just never even imagined going. So
yeah, she's amazing. So it's a good philosophy that worked well for her. So yeah, we'll see.
Does anybody else have any other questions here? So I know you were going to share a couple of your slide deck with us, and as you since you have mentors, do you have mentees?
I have one, but I'm open to more.
Nice. Nice. Well, I'm sure that there may be some opportunities with within School to Career here, that if we have anyone who is interested, to definitely reach out to me, and we can work with connections if possible. And then upcoming events we have on next week, we have a content creator. So the question about asking how much is content versus the marketing, and so that's next week. And then we also have a YouTube creator. So a couple different areas within the creative, the business, and marketing side. So check those out if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that. Well, I found this really fascinating, and I thank you for your time. Does anybody want to say anything else as we get ready to close out?
Krista, I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Last one. What kind of advice would you give like students or BIPOC students who are thinking about marketing as their career, like, as their dream job? Like, how do they make that jump from, going to high school and college and then finally landing that job that they always wanted? Like,
yeah, such a heartfelt question. I mean, I would say one's like, stay rooted and stay close to your community. I think that's really like a powerful, source of like energy and encouragement while you're making your way through. I found that to be really helpful, like really drawing close to community. And I would say, I talked a little bit when I was sharing about my story about like imposter syndrome being like a real thing for me. And, I think just the reminder that you belong and that you have space here and you have something to bring to the table is also just really, really important, because it might be pursuing these dreams and then you come across an obstacle or just even an environment that looks really different than what you're used to. And you might not really feel like you have a place there, but you do. And so, if you ever find yourself in one of those situations, I would say remind yourself of that, or find people who can make you remember that that's who you are. And I think that will help a ton. And then I would also say just leverage. I know I keep saying leveraging people, but I mean, it's so important. I think this is my last thing, but I think when I was in business school, the first couple years, I just really just tried to do it on my own. And then I started getting plugged in with other people who are in business school who didn't even really look like me, but I realized they had a lot more access to things than me. But I didn't realize that until I was in a relationship, and I was like, oh my gosh, wait, like there's other ways to think about this, or to go about this that you bring to the table that I didn't even think about. And so like, not just, communicate, like staying close with your community, but also with people who are different than you that have a different perspective, approach, or even like resources available to them to help you think about the work that you're doing, because it can really help as well. So I don't know if that was too vague, but hopefully it's helpful. So just say, go for it, be encouraged, you have a space here, and just taking it, one step at a time.
That was perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Oof, that was a tough one. Thank you so much for all the questions, and students, thank you so much for the engagement. I really appreciate that too. Hopefully these are things that you can carry on as you go on to what's next, and you'll have my information. So please reach out if you have any other questions, or if you just want to stay connected. I'm here to help.
Krista,
Well, thank you so
much.
very much.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I'm glad to be connected with you, and looking at your LinkedIn, we encourage all of the students, like you are your brand. Whether you know it or not, you are starting your brand. And so get that LinkedIn profile started, and you might not think you have a whole lot to add, but attending events like this and getting to meet the presenters, whether it be virtual or in person, now you have a connection. You can reach out to Krista.
Absolutely. I would love that.
Well, thank you. And we look forward to chatting with you again. Take care.
Okay, sounds good. Bye, all.
Krista, thank you
Bye,
so much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank everybody. Bye.